What's up, everybody? Jerry here from Thriveology, and welcome to Coach Talk. This is when we're going to go over a topic that we just picked kind of out of the blue, but it's going to be relevant to the time. And obviously, the time, we are all in quarantine. We're all staying away from each other due to COVID-19 that's going around the world right now. So we wanted to take a minute or two, probably a little longer than that, to discuss what can you do while you're home to make sure that your immunity is strong enough so that you can continue to be healthy and build your immune system and keep it strong so that you can reduce your risk of getting this thing. Not only now, but just to have a strong immune system as you move forward. I think there are a couple of levels to this, and I'm going to start off actually by going another way, because what's interesting is most people are worried about the disease itself, which is definitely important. Don't get me wrong. I think that what a lot of people are starting to see, but didn't see coming in the first place, was the mental aspect that is playing a part in this because of the social distancing that everyone's having to do. I'm curious to know, Trevis and Sharon, what your thoughts are on the mental aspect that's going to play a part in this. First, in the short run, and I don't think it'll be as obvious, but in the long run, kind of what is this going to do? How are we going to readapt whenever we kind of go back into normal living from a mental aspect? TJ, what do you have? What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that we were talking about this the other day, that I am concerned about people's mental health as we move through this, and people isolating from, as they should, from friends and family and from things that they did prior to this that were stress reducing for them. So I think that definitely limiting how much of the media you watch on a daily basis is going to be extremely important, because I even find for myself, I have to limit that because it's so prevalent, and it's so, they are showing more positive things that are going on in the world, but it is so focused on, if you notice, which stuck out to me, everything related to this virus is red, and red is a very bold, I think caution. We equate it with danger, alert. So I think that kind of plays into your mind as you're trying to, it's important to pay attention to what they're saying, but it's the delivery of it, and it's how much you expose yourself to that on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. I think is really important right now, because I find that I need to do that every day, or else I can actually feel anxiety starting to build in me as you watch that day in and day out.
I've noticed, building on that it seems like on social media, a lot of people are just angry. Someone posts something and someone immediately reacts negatively to it, whether it's negative or not. Another thing is people tend to just put a lot more out there about what others are doing and how they're angry about it. Mm-hmm. And while it is a concern, I think we need to focus more on ourselves and not focus on what other people are doing, because we cannot control that. We cannot change that. And that's a mental thing that we need to think about all the time, but especially right now where this is going on. We can't force everyone to do the right thing ever. And right now, there's just so much of it. And I think that when all of this is over, I think it's going to be a big shock to everyone going back to their daily lives. I was actually just telling Hoy yesterday, the people who are not keeping themselves busy and they're bored during this time, they're going to feel extra busy when they go back to work and have all these things to do on top of that. So it's going to be kind of a shock for a lot of people, I think.
And on top of that, when you talk about going from doing a lot of things to not doing a lot of things, So happiness in general, fulfillment in general, is based off of how you feel like your progress is made in the world, or how you feel like the progress that you're making in the world and the impact that you're making on the world is. If you're not making any progress in your life, your happiness is just going to go down. So I think that that's going to be a big thing for a lot of people is, we're 2 or 3 weeks into this, depending on where you are, maybe longer. And if you haven't been doing the normal things that you've been doing and you're still trying to figure out what do I have going on? How do I kind of build a routine into this? Because we're just at the beginning of this. So figuring out how to build a routine into it is definitely going to be important so that you don't get mentally into a big fog and you feel like you start to get into a sad depression. You have to figure out a way to make progress on something. You have to figure out something so that you're moving forward and moving toward some aspect of your life, whether that's, Treva said she started crocheting again. When she lost 100 pounds years back, that's how she lost 100 pounds to keep herself busy. She started doing that again just to do something, make progress in something.
Yeah,
So
I think that's very true. I noticed just based on the people I talk to, the ones who are filling this time with something are a lot happier and a lot more positive about it. And I've seen some people say like, oh, how's your quarantine going? Oh, it's going terrible and things like that. And I'm like, mine's fine. Like, yeah, it's different and it's a shock and it's weird, but I'm doing things. Like I am enjoying the things that I do during this time. I think of it as an opportunity to build versus, oh no, I just have to sit in my living room on the couch all day.
That's a great reframing technique, which is one thing that helps with stress is to, we're so conditioned, from survival skills to look to the negative and to let that fill your brain, where one of the things that helps that is to force yourself, and you have to work to do it. It's not going to come natural, but what positive thing can you bring out of this? And I think that, pick one thing maybe that you've always wanted to get better at, or you've wanted to do on a daily basis. Well, now's your opportunity to be able to do that, because you've lost a lot of those pressures that you had on you before, your job, your whatever, and focus on just getting better at something in your life, whatever that is that you want to do. And I think the other thing that comes to my mind is, I don't think right now, we've always been people who plan for the future. And I think because that's so uncertain in our lives, we don't know exactly when this is going to end, that we have stopped looking to the future and making plans. So I think that's
more in the present.
Right. You're just kind of stuck right in this moment. And, not that that's a bad thing, because part of, we talk about being mindful, which means you're thinking about the here and now. But when that's a negative feeling to you, that's not where you want to spend your time. So I think that, by working on getting something better, to get better at doing something, you're kind of still planning for the future, because it's giving you hope to keep moving forward. So I think that that's really important to do. Yeah. And routine, I think, is something else.
I was just going to say that, keeping a routine. It was funny, on Wednesday, I didn't have to be up here in the morning, and I told Roy the night before, wake me up when you get up. And I woke up and everything, and he's like, you going to work today? I said, no, not at all, actually, until tonight. And he was like, then why are you awake? And it was 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, so I can do stuff, so I can start my day.
Yeah.
So it's funny how your mindset, like, I want to get up at 5 a.m. still. That's still sleeping in for me, so it's nice, actually. But if you sleep all day and then you stay in your pajamas and then you mosey into the kitchen and get a snack and then sit on the couch and watch another episode of TV, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to be happy. You're going to feel useless, actually. And if you get up and start doing stuff, then you're gonna get dressed first thing. I get dressed first thing in the morning, no matter what I'm doing.
Right.
I could sit at home all day and I'm still gonna get dressed into something other than PJs.
So I think just because they've talked a lot about how humans need that connection, and I think right now you've got to find another way to connect with people, because that's vital for our existence, is to feel that we're connected. So I think that, social distancing does not mean social isolation. So they talked about, writing letters again, that's something that people have quit
Oh, yeah.
doing a long time. I haven't sat and wrote a letter since I was probably in high school. So to pick up those old ways of how we used to communicate and connect to people is something that can fill your time and give you some purpose right now. And to check on, reach out to the people who are home alone, because I think they have one of the most difficult positions, because they don't have any, body. Like I have my husband, who at least I can talk to another human being. I can talk to my dog, even though she doesn't answer me back. But people who are alone, I think mentally are going to suffer from this social distancing if we don't try to reach out to those types of people.
Because typically those people probably aren't the ones to reach out to you. They're used to being alone. They're not going to take the effort, the initiative to reach out to someone if they need to talk to someone. So we need to reach out to them instead.
Right, and then that makes you feel good, that person feels good, and I think that adds into your happiness, that you at least, touch somebody out there who needed that. So I think that's really important. This week I made that a commitment, that I would think who haven't I talked to in a long time, or somebody who's alone, and then just reach out to them and call them on the phone and talk to them.
So that's a good segue. You mentioned feeling good, and a second ago you talked about being mindful and how that's related to being in the moment. So being mindful and being mindful is being able to be in the moment. And that's actually a de-stress strategy that we talk about a lot. Let's talk a little bit about stress then. So we talked about the mental aspect of it. So stress is actually chronic stress is a big immune suppressor, because your body releases cortisol, which is whenever it's chronically released, will suppress your immune system, aka it will increase your risk of getting sick. That's why if you've ever been in a situation where you're stressed from work and you're stressed from home, and you feel this constant stress over a period of weeks and weeks and weeks, you might get the sniffles, or you might get a runny nose, or you might get a cough, or you might just get something. You might not get full-blown sick, but there might just be something there. That's because your immune system is suppressed enough that something's just in there that's coming out.
Stomach issues a lot.
Yes, stomach issues definitely can be for a lot of people. So when it comes to being stressed and having to work around all this bombarding of information that's coming toward us right now, what are some strategies specifically that you think, mindfulness is definitely one, we can talk about that, but what are some strategies, ShareBear, do you think that people could implement to kind of overcome some of the stress that might be building up because of the information overload that's kind of coming at them?
Well, I think one of the big ones is to kind of stay away from that information somewhat, limit your time on social media. I know when I had an iPhone, I was able to tell it to block me from, I don't know if I can do it on my new phone, but some phones you can block a certain amount of time so that you can only be on social media for an hour from your phone. Another thing that I've been preaching big time out there on social media is to exercise outside. Getting outside is just being outside in general is a huge stress reliever. You're getting the fresh air, you have the green space, so trees, grass, all that. We don't realize it, but it's a huge stress reliever in itself. And then getting exercise outside to, help something calming, something relaxing to you, will help de-stress you as well.
Well, exercise in general boosts endorphins.
Right.
So, no matter what type of exercise it is,
Yeah,
something that you enjoy most definitely. But you make a good point about being outside. Kate, my wife, actually said something the other day that was an interesting connection. In the winter, we all get gloomy, I guess. You mentally get gloomy, and part of the reason is actually because of the lack of vitamin D of being outside. Vitamin D helps you produce more serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone. So it's ironic that as we're coming out of winter, when we're locked inside, or we feel like we're locked inside because it's gloomy and cold, we have to be inside, or we feel like we have to be isolated inside again as we're going into the spring. So that's definitely a really good point. Like still going outside is definitely important. Stay your 6 feet away from everybody. Make sure that you're keeping your distance, but outside is not where you're going to get sick. Outside is where you need to be in order to get those feel good, get your vitamin D, and kind of boost your mood again.
Yeah, it's not a scary place. I think a lot of people feel I have to stay inside so that I don't catch this thing.
I think you're more likely to get sick of something in general if you stay inside.
Well, the stress that you feel being confined. So nobody wants to feel that way.
Right.
So, what simple thing you can do, and I've tried to do on a daily basis, is just get outside and go for a walk. 30 minutes outside when the weather's nice, I think is a great way to relieve stress. It kind of clears your mind. You can do whatever you want. You can listen to music. You can just walk quietly and look at nature. Maybe, try to spot, the birds that are singing or the woodpecker that you can hear up in the trees. And I think that helps to relax and calm you down because of all the green and all of that out there. And then, something that I think people see as being hokey, but it definitely has benefits, is meditation. And this would be a great time that if you've always wanted to start a meditation habit, start it now. Set aside a time that's, beneficial for you, or when you have the time, and it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of sitting quietly. You can just start with setting a timer on your phone, and for 30 seconds that you're just going to sit and focus on breathing, and that's all you have to focus on. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. It's going to do that, but just gently pull that back in. Don't give up and say, I'm a terrible person to try to do this, I can't do it. Then pull it back in, because every time that you do that, you're creating that neural pathway in your brain that you will get better at the meditation. It just takes time.
Yep.
So I think it's real important. That's a great thing that you can do to start your morning off when you get up, maybe before you go to bed at night, to just kind of decompress and get your mind calmed down so that you can go to bed. Because I think, stress impacts so many things in our life that, right now it's really important that you get plenty of good sleep, because that helps support your immune system. And I think meditation, practicing gratitude, those are all things that can help you improve your sleep.
Well, the breath, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So meditation, essentially, depending on how you want to think about it, essentially meditation is being able to, or part of being able to control your breath, and is focusing on your breath or focusing on something with intent. But a lot of meditation is focused around the breath itself. Your breath controls your physiology. If you notice that when you get anxious and when you get worked up about something, you start breathing, oh my gosh, something's going on, something bad, or you're getting worked up about something you have to do at work, or something that you're just nervous about, your breath picks up a lot faster. If you take some deep breaths and tell yourself that everything's gonna be okay, that nervousness will come down, and that anxiety will come down a lot, and that stress level, like Treva says, will definitely come down, and you'll be able to kind of like really bring it back in and rein it back in.
Yeah, it's all your nervous system. So when you kick in that sympathetic nervous system, your digestive system is attached to it. Every system in your body is attached, and it's all going to slow down to make everything else work harder to get you away from the tiger, the metaphorical tiger that's chasing you. So we're constantly in our lives today, before all this happened, we're constantly being chased by a tiger because we're stressed out all the time. And we live in such a fast-paced world that our nervous systems are always
ramped up.
Ramped up. So meditation now, like Treva said, is a great time to start and build this habit, so that when you do go back to work, when things do go back to normal, hopefully you stick with it, because we need that in our lives daily anyway.
Definitely.
So.
All right, so we talked about the mental aspect a little bit. We talked about stress and how that impacts the immune system. Let's get to the stuff that most people, I guess, attach to being healthier and having a better immune system. Let's talk a little bit about the nutrition. Let's talk a little bit more about movement. We talked about exercise and how that boosts your endorphins. So just some tactics off the top of your head. Of course, I think everyone understands that nutrition is important, but how important is it for your immune system and for your health, especially in this time?
Oh, I think it's probably one of the number one things that you need to be doing. If you have ever thought about changing your diet away from processed food and sugar, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to work on that, because the more whole foods you can get in, the better your health is going to be, the stronger your immune system is going to be to fight off anything that is going to attack you. And I think it's really important right now that you think about taking care of your gut more so than ever, because your immune system is directly attached to your gut. So adding in foods that are beneficial for your gut is easy to do right now. So those would be any kind of like fermented foods. You could eat sauerkrauts and pickles, those types of things, because that all feeds the good bacteria in your gut and keeps that in check. And I think that is really, really important right now. I think that the less sugar that you can take in, added sugar, the better off you're going to be, and really focus on inflammation, because this virus causes inflammation into your body. That's one of the big things that causes a lot of the complications. So the more you can reduce your inflammation through your food, the better off you're going to be. And that's for everything in your life. That's for autoimmune disease, that's for weight loss, that's for everything. But right now it's really, really critical to get that
to reduce your inflammation?
Well, make sure that you're eating healthy fats. You don't want to be taking in any processed industrial fats right now. The more healthier fats you can take in, the better off you're going to be.
What are the processed fats?
So,
we call them Frankenfats or Frankenstein fats.
So I would, when you're looking at buying food and you're reading labels, you don't want to take in oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, any of those types of oils. You want to take in more of the olive oils that are out there. I know coconut oil has gotten a bad rap a couple years ago. I personally think that coconut oil is perfectly fine as long as it's cold pressed and not refined, so you want it to be snowy white. Ghee is a good fat to cook with. Avocado oil is now available out there. So those would be the better oils to take in as far as whole foods. Avocados would be great right now to add to your diet if you haven't done it before. Nuts, although you can't eat a whole lot of nuts, but some nuts every day is a good healthy fat that you can take.
If you had to pick one thing to take out, what would that be? One general area of food to take out, what would that be to help reduce elimination?
Inflammation. To help
eliminate. What would you eliminate to help reduce inflammation?
So, my opinion, I would take sugar out of my diet. Any sugar that you are taking in, if you're adding sugar, definitely stop adding sugar to your diet. Sugar, and the way it works in your body, is kind of inflammatory. I'm not going to get into this right now, but that would be something that you could work on reducing that. So one of the easiest ways to reduce that is to stop eating out of boxes. Now you've got all this time, you're stuck in the house. Why don't you start brushing up on those cooking skills and start making more of your food, rather than, I know we want to support small businesses and all of that right now during this time, but maybe eat out once a week, but cook food for yourself out of whole real food. You have the time to do it now, and that would be one thing that you could work on to get better at during this quarantine. Is I'm going to work on my cooking skills so that I can work on my health doing that.
Good stuff. Yeah, nutrition is definitely a big deal. It's definitely something that you should pay attention to. And then, Sharon, quickly, what are some exercise ideas that you could probably jump into that could help people boost their mood, just keep them moving, all of that?
So when I talk to people about exercise, one of my number one things to ask people is, what do you enjoy? If you get up and you hate the exercise routine that you're doing every single day and it just causes you stress, don't do it. Do something else. There's a million ways to exercise. So right now during this time, as I said, I highly recommend you being able to get outside and do some exercise. But anything you can do, building strength at this time is always good. Building strength is always good. And then build up your cardiovascular system right now, because if you do happen to get the virus, that's a big
Big
factor.
part of it.
Yeah, that's what
Lung
it affects.
capacity.
So if you already have a good cardiovascular system, good lung capacity, then you're not going to be as affected by it. You may not have to be hospitalized versus someone who, doesn't have that built up. So doing some high intensity interval training is always a great way to work out. I always tell people, pick 3 or 4 exercises, choose an amount of time to do each of them, and just do them for a few sets. So 20 seconds of burpees, 20 seconds of jump squats, 20 seconds of mountain climbers, and then take a 20-second rest and do it again and again and again. Just giving yourself some exercises to do and some rest, and you can plug in anything you want to do. It's super easy to come up with a quick little exercise routine that might take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you're looking for. And then as you get better at it and things get tougher, or things get easier, make it tougher. So add more time or take away some rest.
Very good. Well, that is Coach Talk. That is our first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please make sure that you implement some of these strategies, implement some of these tactics. And thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure that you get outside and enjoy the sun. Take care.